Today we're getting into the latest Tesla news, including Tesla's surprise all-in meeting, big battery advancements coming soon, 2 Tesla prototypes entering production, and more, so let's get into it. First up today, Tesla just had a surprise all-in meeting, coming at a tumultuous time for the company, and it seems like this is particularly pointed to remind people that Tesla is still focused on the future, even though most of the world is focused on Elon Musk. This was a company-wide all-hands keynote for Q1 of 2025, and it's definitely an interesting thing for Tesla to do here. We've never seen them do this before, and usually we're just waiting for an earnings call to get updates like this. Most likely, though, this is a larger scale reminder of what Tesla is focused on, and that Elon Musk is still focused at Tesla. No matter your opinion of what's going on right now with Tesla, it does seem like he hasn't had a ton of attention set on Tesla at the moment. So this keynote did somewhat seem to reinforce that Elon is focused at Tesla, and it made some investors like Dan Ives happy. He said, quote, "Leaders lead, and Elon Musk made a huge step forward in our view with holding a quickly put together all-hands meeting tonight for Tesla employees. This was needed for many reasons that we have discussed over the last week, and we applaud Musk doing this. Big step forward." Others have reported this as a big step forward, and the stock does seem to be up, although we can never directly correlate things to that. In any case, a lot was discussed on this call, including Tesla's current production and where they're ramping for the future. For the Model Y, it seems that that car was the best-selling car for 2024 as a whole, and they're aiming to have it be the bestseller in 2025 for a third year in a row. But for the long-term future of Tesla, the Robotaxi and Optimus are very important, and Elon, of course, talked about these things. For Optimus, Tesla has produced their first Optimus robot at their new production line at Fremont. It seems like that's where they're going to plan to make this robot, at least in its initial form. They are producing the new Optimus hand with 22 degrees of freedom, which is up from 11, and the new forearm is now in production as well. As for production, Tesla is aiming to make 5,000 Optimus units within 2025, but they are ordering enough parts to do 10 to 12,000 this year. So it seems like 10,000 is kind of that optimistic view, but 5,000 seems a little more realistic in their own eyes. It's definitely curious to see what they'll end up doing with these, because we haven't seen much functionality that seems to justify 5,000 units, but if they do spread them out at Tesla's factories around the world and train them, it could be a great way to scale this up pretty quickly. As for the Cybercab, we've gotten recent production updates from Tesla's engineers talking about the efficiency they expect there and how this is going to be made. They reiterated, and Elon reiterated in this keynote, that it will be made using their unboxed assembly process. The Cybercab will ultimately roll off the production line every 5 seconds, though. Right now, the Model Y rolls off every 35 seconds over in Shanghai, where it's the most productive. So the Cybercab, they're hoping to get 7 times faster than that. If that car really achieves its function, I think there's no question that they could do this and that the demand would be there for the Cybercab. But of course, in order to get there, they have to solve self-driving, which is a big task, even though it seems like they're getting closer and closer every day. Some very big news came for Tesla's 4680 battery cells, though. They announced these all the way back in 2020 at Battery Day, and a lot of people have felt that it was basically vaporware because the promises that they had for that car never came to be. It has had a bit of a rough start. At Giga Shanghai and Berlin, they were supposed to build the new Model Y from the ground up utilizing the 4680 battery cell, with those batteries being made at each of those factories. For a brief period of time, they did make this car at Giga Texas, and they sold some of them, but quickly that car was discontinued, and the 4680 cell ended up just being redirected to the Cybertruck exclusively. Now, the Cybertruck uses the second generation version of this battery cell, but of course that's a lower volume vehicle, so the 4680 cell definitely didn't scale up to where they hoped and originally expected. Now, 5 years later, it seems that Tesla has actually achieved some cost improvements with the 4680 cell that could be a pretty big deal. In this keynote, Elon said that the Tesla 4680 cell is now the lowest cost cell per kilowatt hour in the world. That is huge news, and that appears to be the cost that they have achieved prior to the dry cathode innovation, which might be coming later this year, and we'll talk about that a little more later in this video. If they've truly achieved that, that means that soon enough they'll probably start scaling up this battery, because it's going to be the battery that they want to use across the board in all of their vehicles, because it's the lowest cost that they can get, even compared to suppliers who specialize in this like CATL or BYD. Tesla's Dojo Computer 1 is active in New York and Palo Alto and handling around 10% of the FSD training load currently, which is definitely a big improvement over what we saw previously. Of course, the other 90% we believe is all Nvidia computers, but this could change in the future with Tesla's Dojo 2 computer. Dojo 2 is on the way, and they say it will be 10 times better than Dojo 1, and it's a real shot at a breakthrough. All companies in the AI space are working very quickly, so I wouldn't be surprised if by the time Tesla achieves this, Nvidia has done something similar, but we will have to see. If it is a huge breakthrough, it could be another big business for Tesla to sell this computer. As for production, Tesla is on track to build their 10 millionth car in 2026, and the Model Y is on track to be the best-selling car for a third year in a row. That's of course dependent on the new refreshed version of this car, but if they already have this optimistic view for 2025, it seems like sales may be going pretty well right now. The Tesla semi-truck factory remains on track for completion later this year, and Elon wants to experiment with much larger gigacastings, and he even mentioned up to 50,000 tons from the 9,000 currently. Of course, these are long-term dreams that he wants to achieve over at Tesla, but it's one of those things where we really see their nerdy focus on manufacturing as well as the products that they actually put out. At Giga New York, they have produced 160,000 NACS adapters, and those are adapters that change CCS to NACS so that other electric vehicles can charge at Tesla superchargers, and Tesla hit record battery production at Giga Nevada. That record production is currently happening there, and I imagine if 4680 cell has really gotten to where it is, and they have future advancements coming down the road, we could see this ramp up exponentially in the near future. They do plan to expand Giga Nevada specifically for their own 4680 battery cell. Tesla's Cortex computer at Giga Texas is currently at 50,000 GPUs and will soon be at 100,000, and at that point it will be one of the top 5 global training clusters. This is the training cluster that is training their FSD system, so it's very impressive to see this continue to grow. Of course, Elon had to talk about some fun futuristic things that may never come to be, and unfortunately the Roadster seems like it may be one of those things at this point, even though they reiterate that they do plan to make that car. But regarding electric planes, Elon said, maybe someday we will do that. That would be kind of fun. We do have ingredients for it. I guarantee we'll be seeing a lot of YouTube videos about Tesla's new electric plane based on that one comment, which is always crazy to see from Tesla, but overall this does seem to be a good reminder of everything that's going on at Tesla. It comes at a time where even the most die-hard Tesla fans have felt that Elon Musk is not focused enough at Tesla, so it makes a lot of sense to see this presentation. It's just a reminder that they have a lot in the works and a lot of future plans. I'm personally curious, though, to see what happens in the meantime with their other products that they didn't really talk about here, like the new Model Y and the other trims being introduced in the United States. Whatever those more affordable Teslas will be later this year, a 7-seater or 6-seater Model Y coming to China later this year, a smaller car that's codenamed E41, and much more. Maybe eventually Tesla will have to make a different electric truck also that utilizes some of the Cybertruck's technology, but in a smaller package or one that's a little more friendly to the average consumer. There's a lot of questions for what Tesla's future products will be, and I think full self-driving is really the big outlier as to what direction things will go. If they achieve this, of course the Cybercab is going to be the future, but if it's still taking quite some time to get there, they will have to expand a lot of different areas and a lot of different vehicles. Either way, no matter what, there are a lot of things going on at Tesla with their over 100,000 employees. Before we go any further, I'd like to mention a product that's great for new Tesla owners and Tesla owners who have had their cars for a while. Tesla's included floor mats are just not that great. Usually they come with carpet floor mats, or they don't come with floor mats at all if it's a base model, even though they're still fairly expensive. So those floor mats will wear out quick, but the best option here is all-weather floor mats. The best choice I've found after years of trying different floor mats come from 3D Maxpider. They make all sorts of floor mats for all of Tesla's vehicles. They fit snug, they're durable, and are soft, unlike traditional rubber mats. So instead of water pooling in these mats, they'll trap moisture effectively in all of the different ridges. I've used these in the Model Y, Model 3, Cybertruck, Rivian R1T, and more, and they work incredibly well. You simply vacuum or wipe them down with interior spray. Their new Elitect version also features deeper channels, higher sidewalls, and improved design for better protection, but what I love is the full set that includes 12 mats that cover the footwells, trunk, understorage, side cubbies, and front trunk bin. The big one here, though, is the seat back mats included in the Model Y. This means that when you fold down those rear seats to store large cargo in there, you are not at all damaging those seats. The full set for all of these cars is linked below, but you can also get these in different configurations for whatever you may prefer. Next up today, the most important part of an electric car is its battery. It's the entire foundation of the car, and improvements to that battery are what will make these cars even more enticing to customers in the future. For now, batteries are still too expensive for some customers, and they charge too slow. For some, they don't last long enough either. I think a lot of electric car owners actually do feel that these batteries last long enough and charge fast enough in the real world, but we're seeing all sorts of innovation in this space. And the latest this week comes from Tesla. There's a new report from The Information saying that the Cybertruck is set to get a new battery system this year with the introduction of Tesla's dry cathode technology. This is a technology that they've talked about for about 5 years at this point, and some people actually think it may be vaporware at this point because the 4680 battery and that whole program hasn't really come to be as was originally announced. Well, reportedly, later this year, the Cybertruck is going to feature these dry cathodes, and that is confirmed by Bon Eggleston, Tesla's senior director of 4680 cells. These dry electrodes eliminate the need for liquid solvents by applying cathode material in a dry powder form, potentially reducing manufacturing complexity and costs. And the technology should save Tesla about $1 billion in production expenses. The assumption is that that is annually, and that likely that would just grow with every battery that they make. For the future, this is expected to come to the robotaxi if they can achieve it first on the Cybertruck, as well as all of their future cars. If they really do achieve this, it's that ultimate breakthrough that makes this battery much cheaper than everything we have today. It's one of those Tesla vertical integration things where they rethought the entire battery manufacturing process. And if they succeed here, they'll be able to bring down the cost of batteries, which brings down the cost of vehicles in the future. In my last video, I reported about BYD and their ultra-fast charging that they just announced, up to 1,000 kilowatts. In some sense, this beats Tesla by 4 times because Tesla, in the majority of their vehicles, maxes out at 250 kilowatt charging speeds. Of course, the most important thing is the charging curve, and this BYD car does have a really great charging curve. Still, Tesla plans for the Cybertruck to have 500 kilowatt charging later this year at the right superchargers, but it seems like they're behind with certain things like charging speed and crazy long range. Here though, this really showcases Tesla's focused approach on scale and price. If they really do achieve this, it's a pretty huge deal for the entire industry and for Tesla specifically. And it's one of those things that may not actually bring many improvements on the surface, at least not right away, but it helps them to bring down the cost of their cars. For now, this is testing on the Cybertruck, and we know that they've made a dry cathode prototype in the past, but it seems like it could actually come to be on the Cybertruck later this year, at scale. The Cybertruck is a really unique vehicle for Tesla because, of course, it's not as popular as people originally thought with its 2 million pre-orders, but they also doubled the price since its original launch. The Cybertruck also introduces a ton of great new technology from Tesla, like steer-by-wire, the 48-volt underlying low-voltage architecture, the 800-volt high-voltage architecture, later this year 500 kilowatt charging, and then here the dry cathode technology later this year. Basically, it's an expensive vehicle, and a pretty crazy one, but it's kind of Tesla's flagship vehicle to try out all of their new technology on, and it's something that they can ship it on since it's more expensive. Then the goal is that steer-by-wire and dry cathode technology comes to cheaper cars in the future, and the robotaxi specifically. Ultimately, that really is Tesla's long-term goal, for the robotaxi to actually be very cheap to purchase and then be incredibly efficient, so it's incredibly cheap to operate. This is a pretty exciting thing to see for Tesla, and I can't wait to see when this dry cathode actually launches on the Cybertruck, and if it brings any noticeable improvements, or if you can really even tell the difference. It may just be something that only Tesla really knows about, but it helps them out over time, and helps them deliver more and more great, more affordable electric cars. In any case, this week the Cybertruck is facing another recall, and this one's actually pretty big. Tesla is facing a recall of approximately 46,000 Cybertrucks, with model years 2024 and 2025 due to another defect in the cantrail assembly, a stainless steel exterior trim panel that may delaminate and attach while driving, which poses a potential road hazard. We've actually seen videos and photos of this happening to owners, but now it seems like it's a big enough issue that they have to recall every single Cybertruck ever made. Or it's at least every Cybertruck made up until about a month ago. We can tell because they're recalling cars built between November 13th of 2023 and February 27th of 2025. This means that my Cybertruck is definitely affected by this issue, so I will have to go into service to get this fixed. The cantrail panel, attached with structural adhesive, may separate from the vehicle due to delamination at the adhesive joint, so Tesla will replace this cantrail assembly with an improved version at no cost to owners. There will be mailing notification letters to affected owners by May 19th of this year, and this marks the 8th recall that the Cybertruck has faced since 2023. If you want to check if your Cybertruck is affected, there's a Tesla VIN recall search online, but most likely if your car was built over a month ago, then it is affected by this recall and you will have to go into service to get this fixed. Definitely an unfortunate one for Tesla, and the opposite of what we usually see, where a big headline claims that every Cybertruck ever produced was recalled, and then it just turns out it was a software update. In this case, every owner is going to have to go in to get this fixed. It's another example of the innovation that this car brings, but also the flip side of that, where they're trying lots of new things and delivering it to customers and finding issues out in the real world. It's something that happens with any new car from any manufacturer, but it seems especially present for Tesla. At least it gets covered the most. In any case, this recall actually confirms for us how many Cybertrucks Tesla has sold. It seems they've sold about 46,000 as of a month ago, which is a decent amount, but it does seem that sales have not been growing too much this year. Tesla has planned to ramp up the Cybertruck in massive numbers, and one reason they probably haven't been able to do that is that the rear-wheel drive version is not actually available, and the price is a lot more than people originally expected. But they do have plans to ramp up, so we'll have to see how things go here. They're offering various leasing offers, various deals if you get a Foundation Series truck, and more, so they're definitely trying to entice customers, but things don't appear to be growing quite as much as they expected. One new feature coming to the Cybertruck, though, is very cool and a very good example of Tesla's software approach, and that is adaptive air suspension adjustments from within the app. Quote, you can now adjust the Cybertruck suspension from within the app, navigate to the controls section of the app, and you can now adjust your Cybertruck's height and choose from entry, low, medium, or high levels. Tesla's lead engineer for the Cybertruck said, by popular demand, you can now adjust Cybertruck ride height from the mobile app. Tesla team is always working to make our products better than they were yesterday. Definitely a very cool feature to see on the Cybertruck, but I'm most excited to see later this year what actually happens with that dry cathode technology, and then how long it takes for Tesla to actually realize savings here and bring it to their other, more affordable vehicles. Next up today, in my last video, I talked quite a bit about Mark Rober in his video where he put Autopilot against a LiDAR-equipped vehicle. This was a challenge to see which self-driving technology would do the best, but he actually didn't end up stacking full self-driving against LiDAR. He stacked Tesla's basic Autopilot system against full self-driving, which at this point isn't really a fair test if you're trying to be as scientific as possible. A lot of people quickly pointed out issues with this video, and the fact that he only engaged Autopilot 3.8 seconds before impact. The system also seems to disengage, and potentially he steered out of the system right before it hit the wall, and then of course it's just not the latest technology, and it's an older Tesla vehicle, which seems to have the older hardware. As such, we've seen Tesla owners take matters into their own hands and try to repeat this test. Kyle Paul did a full recreation of this test, building an entire Wile E. Coyote style wall, and then he tested this with a few different Tesla vehicles. Here, the hardware 4 Tesla and the Cybertruck both stopped for the wall. But a hardware 3 Tesla vehicle that was running older software did not stop for the wall, so some speculate that either the hardware 3 isn't capable of it, or the latest software version would have improved enough to fix this issue, and all Tesla vehicles with the latest software would have stopped. While Tesla's newest vehicles did stop for this wall, it does seem that the lighting is wildly different at different times of day, sometimes making this wall incredibly clear that it is not the same as the backdrop, whereas other times it's not as clear. So again, this isn't really the most scientific test. In general, this isn't a great test anyway, because when in the real world would an entire wall that looks exactly like the road be there? But ultimately, I see why Mark Rober was doing this test, to really showcase the difference in systems that can see objects versus understand the world based on visuals. In any case, it seems like Tesla vehicles may perform differently, and this really is a sign that Mark Rober should redo his tests. I'd be very curious to see what would happen, and I'm not 100% sure what the result would be, but it seems like Tesla's latest versions would have stopped. In any case, I know how YouTube works and YouTube videos, and a follow-up video would not succeed nearly as well as his original one, so I wouldn't be surprised if we don't actually see him redo this test. Maybe he can redo it and post it on X or a smaller platform like that, though. In any case, back to Tesla products, we know that Tesla's prototype of the Optimus robot is expanding, and they should be in real production soon, since they plan to make 5,000 of those this year. That's very exciting, and then at the same time, the Semi is ongoing at Tesla's new Semi factory. Production should be ramping of that car soon, and then the Cybercab may see first prototypes enter production very soon here as well. For the near future, we're definitely going to see Tesla being in full control of their own Cybercabs as they test and optimize this system, but long term, they're supposed to be making these available for customers. But for right now, the car that you can buy from Tesla is the Model Y, and production is expanding there in a lot of markets. Over in Australia and New Zealand, the new Model Y in all of its configurations is available to order, so that includes the base rear-wheel drive version. Over at Fremont, this car has been ramping exceptionally well, and there's tons of Model Ys all around that factory. Over in China, it seems that certain configurations of this new refreshed Model Y are doing incredibly well because the long-range all-wheel drive just saw a 3.3% increase, an increase of about $1,400. It seems the demand may be good for that configuration, but at the same time, the entry-level rear-wheel drive Model Y is at the same price, and Tesla has also introduced 3-year 0% interest and 5-year low-interest financing for the Model Y for new orders placed by April 30th. So while there is demand for this car, they are offering a 0% APR incentive at the same time. In an ideal world where everyone wants this car at whatever price Tesla is selling it at, then they wouldn't have an APR incentive like that. But it does seem like the long-range all-wheel drive is particularly popular, or Tesla is a little constrained on production for it. But one of the biggest pieces of the current Model Y and then the Cybercab going into the future is Tesla's full self-driving approach. We've seen them talking about their AI approach to this for years, and now we're seeing Nvidia entering this space in a large way. They are taking basically Tesla's same approach, and it's funny because Tesla is training their cars on Nvidia computers, and now Nvidia looks to be doing the same thing with their own hardware as well. They're taking a similar approach to Tesla by collecting real-world data and trying to utilize synthetic data at the same time, and they just announced that they will be partnering with GM for the future of self-driving. They said, "Today, I'm super excited to announce that GM has selected Nvidia to partner with to build their future self-driving car fleet. We're looking forward to building with GM on AI for manufacturing so they can revolutionize the way they manufacture, AI for enterprise, so they can revolutionize the way they work, design and simulate cars, and also AI for in the car." So Nvidia should be optimizing a lot of GM's overall business with AI, and then self-driving is the big piece here. It's very interesting to see another company taking Tesla's pretty much exact approach, whereas over at Waymo and other companies that do have self-driving today, it's a much different approach with HD mapping and LiDAR. The future really does seem to be in self-driving, and GM appears to be getting serious with Nvidia as a partner, so we'll see how that all goes here. If you watched Nvidia's recent keynote, it looked a lot like Tesla's autonomy days in the past, but the difference is the technology is really scaled up and they're competing with what Tesla has today. Similarly, over at GM, though, they have another partnership in the works with Hyundai. Hyundai and GM are nearing a partnership agreement where Hyundai plans to supply GM with 2 electric commercial van models. Initially, these will be produced in South Korea, and then they hope for potential North American manufacturing by 2028. So Hyundai is going to be making these vans under the GM badge. And then conversely, for pickup trucks, GM may be providing Hyundai with mid-size pickup trucks, such as the Chevrolet Colorado and GMC Canyon, for sale under the Hyundai brand in North America. Those don't seem like they're going to be electric vehicles, but GM will be producing these for Hyundai, who will then sell them under their name. On top of this exchange of vehicles directly, it seems that this will also extend to purchasing and development of computing chips, next-generation batteries, and battery materials to reduce costs and address competition from Chinese electric car manufacturers. Competition from China is fierce, so it does seem like a lot of legacy automakers may need to be partnering in the future for the future of electric vehicles. That's all the latest Tesla news for today, so in the meantime, if you want to see the reality of how much money going electric can actually save long-term, you can check out that video linked up here or in the description below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.